She's cold, distant, uninterested, and you're spiraling. You overthink every word she said. You double text. You replay every little moment, wondering what you did wrong. You're not alone. Thousands of men are stuck in this loop right now. But what if I told you the problem isn't her? It's how you're reacting. You've been trained to chase, to fix, to convince. But chasing a woman who's indifferent is like begging a stranger to love you. It doesn't work. And worse, it makes you forget your value. If you have ever been in this situation, this is for you. Because once you understand this, once you flip the switch, she won't just notice, she'll chase you. Comment, "I choose strength," if you're ready to watch this video till the end. Number 1. She pulls away to see if you'll chase. She stops replying as fast. Her tone cools, her energy shifts, and suddenly the warmth you once felt vanishes like smoke. And you're left obsessing over what changed. You replay the texts, analyze her last message, wonder if you said something wrong, ask your friends for advice, and spiral into a pit of uncertainty. Every inch of your being wants to chase, to fix, to prove you're worth her attention again. But what you don't realize is that this is the moment that defines everything. She pulls away not always because she's lost interest, but because she wants to see what you'll do with your uncertainty. She wants to see if you break under the pressure, if you start to perform, if you start proving instead of holding frame. That moment of coldness is not her stepping back for no reason. It's a test you don't even know you're taking. It's the psychological equivalent of her watching if you'll throw away your values just to win her attention back. And most men fail. Most men start overcompensating, complimenting more, texting longer, becoming a version of themselves that bends to her behavior. But the real tragedy is what this does to you. Every time you chase her when she pulls away, you chip away at your sense of self-worth. You tell your nervous system that her mood determines your confidence. You become a man who is shaped by her validation rather than your direction. And worse, she sees it. She may not say it, but she feels it. And the respect dies, slowly, quietly, and fatally. But there's another way. When she pulls away, let her. Not as a tactic, but as a standard. Let her walk into the silence. Let her feel the void you leave. Because when a woman pulls away and you don't chase, you create space for her to reflect, space for her to wonder, and space for her to feel. Chasing kills the space, but space activates emotion. The emotion she can't feel when you're smothering her with validation and trying to win her back. So instead of asking what you did wrong, ask what you've forgotten about yourself. Reclaim your mission. Go back to the gym, the books, the grind, the version of you that didn't need her to text you back to feel alive. That man, he's powerful. That man, he builds momentum regardless of who's watching. And when she sees that you haven't lost a step, that her absence didn't collapse you, that you're still growing, still calm, still focused, it's magnetic. It's addictive, because most men collapse when she pulls back. But when you expand, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, she feels it. And it makes her question everything. Because now the dynamic flips. Now she wonders if you're the one pulling away. And suddenly, she chases. Not because you tricked her, but because you refused to chase her when she tested your strength. This is what few men understand. Her distance is the moment of decision. You either become the man who folds for attention, or the man who rises without it. And if you choose the latter, you don't just win her back, you win yourself back. Because this isn't about her anymore. It never was. It's about whether you're leading your life or letting her responses lead you. You want to transform your reality. You start here, by not chasing the woman who steps back. Not because you're playing hard to get, but because you finally realize you were never meant to chase, you were meant to build. And no woman, No cold reply, no shift in energy should ever make you forget that. And once you live this way, you don't just feel powerful, you become untouchable. That's why I created the Stoic Relationship Blueprint. Because you deserve more than guesswork and pain. If you've ever asked, why do I always attract the wrong energy? How do I stop getting played? Or how do I stay grounded when she's distant? This book answers everything. It's a step-by-step blueprint for reclaiming your peace, mastering your presence, and becoming the man she chases, not the one chasing. And the best part, it's yours forever. One click, and this entire framework is in your hands for life. No subscriptions, no limits. Just the clarity, tools, and mindset shift you've been searching for. The link is in the comments. Get it now, and never ask, what went wrong again? Number 2. Let her earn your attention. You've been taught your entire life that being a good man means giving endlessly, your time, your energy, your attention, without expectation. You were told to be nice, be attentive, be available, and yet, every time you pour yourself into someone who doesn't value you, you're left drained, confused, and quietly resentful. The problem isn't your kindness, it's your lack of standards. Because the truth is, not everyone deserves your presence. Not every woman deserves access to your time. And until you understand that your attention is earned, not owed, you'll keep attracting people who see you as convenient, not valuable. Let's be real. How many times have you responded to a text instantly, dropped your plans for someone who barely reciprocates, or bent over backwards to make her happy while she offered the bare minimum? And did it ever work? Did it ever create the connection you were hoping for? No, because you taught her that she didn't need to try, that she could give less and still have all of you. And that right there is where the attraction dies. Women don't respect what's free. They're drawn to what's earned. Your attention must be earned through effort, consistency, respect, and reciprocity. If she's flaky, dry, disrespectful, or passive, you don't double your effort. You withdraw your attention, not as punishment, as principle. Your energy is not a charity, it's an investment. And smart investors don't keep funding businesses that show no signs of growth. You're not here to entertain someone who's undecided about you. You're not here to beg for effort from someone who can't even hold a conversation. And you're damn sure not here to convince anyone of your worth. The truth is, you teach people how to treat you. Every time you chase, you teach her that she's the prize and you're the beggar. But when you filter, when you slow down, observe her behavior, and let her reveal who she truly is before you emotionally invest, you flip the game. Now she works to keep your interest. Now she shows up with more effort. Now she wonders what you think of her, not the other way around. And this isn't about ego. This is about self-respect. You are the gatekeeper of your energy. You are the authority of your presence. And any woman who doesn't meet your standard doesn't get access, not because she's a bad person, but because you finally realize your time is sacred. And once you adopt this mindset, that your attention is the reward, not the offering, your entire dating experience transforms. You stop settling for bare minimum. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't listen. You stop sacrificing your peace just to prove you're good enough. And instead, you focus on yourself. You build your life, your purpose, your peace. And when someone truly aligned walks into your life, you'll recognize it, not because they chase you, but because they match you. They mirror your effort, your consistency, your value. But you only get there when you stop giving attention to those who haven't earned it. So next time she's slow to respond, disinterested, cold, or inconsistent, don't ask what you did wrong. Ask what you've been giving away too easily. Your attention isn't a gift for everyone. It's a reward for the few who truly deserve it. Start treating it that way. Your life will change. Number 3. High value equals high standards. You keep hearing that you need to become high value, but nobody tells you what that actually means. It's not just about money, muscles, or material things. Real value shows up in your standards, what you tolerate, what you allow, and what you expect from the people around you, especially the women you let into your life. The man who values himself doesn't beg for attention. He doesn't wait around for someone to choose him. He chooses himself, and his standards do the talking. Every interaction, every relationship, every decision you make either reinforces your worth or erodes it. And you know what's wild? She sees it. She sees it before you even open your mouth. She sees it in the way you respond to disrespect. She sees it in how fast you jump through hoops for her when she gives you nothing back. She sees it when you ignore your own needs just to avoid confrontation. That's when she knows this man doesn't really value himself, because if he did, he'd walk away the moment I disrespected his time, his energy, or his peace. But you don't walk away. You stay. You give more. You try harder. And you call it loyalty, love, or persistence. But it's not. It's self-abandonment. It's fear. It's the belief that you have to tolerate less than you deserve just to not be alone. And that belief is what keeps you trapped in cycles with women who string you along, breadcrumb you, or treat you like an option. You want to change that. Start by getting painfully honest about what you've been tolerating. Ask yourself, would the man I want to become allow this? Would he keep explaining himself to someone who doesn't care? Would he keep making excuses for someone who keeps disrespecting his boundaries? Or would he set the standard and walk away from anything that doesn't meet it? Because that's the difference. Low-value men chase approval. High-value men filter access. They don't explain their standards. They enforce them. They don't argue about being respected. They simply remove themselves. They don't seek validation. They create direction. And yes, it's hard. It's hard to let go of someone who's inconsistent but attractive. It's hard to walk away from a connection that feels good but isn't healthy. It's hard to enforce boundaries when you've spent years pleasing others. But it's even harder to look in the mirror every day and see a man who knows he's settling. That quiet shame, that subtle self-betrayal, it builds. It eats at you. It makes you resentful. And it's the reason so many men feel angry, lost, or numb. Not because the world is unfair, but because they stopped holding themselves to a higher standard. You want to be high value? Start there. Start by setting a new baseline for how you show up for yourself. Set rules for how you let people treat you. Refuse to entertain inconsistency, disrespect, or disinterest. Not just from women, from anyone. Because once you raise your standard, your entire life upgrades. You attract better friends, better opportunities, better relationships, because you stopped accepting anything less. And when women feel that, when they sense that you are not a man who compromises his peace for attention, everything changes. You go from chasing to choosing. You go from tolerated to respected. You go from being another option to the only one she can't ignore. But that's not a trick. That's not a strategy. That's the natural result of living by a higher standard and refusing to abandon it for anyone. Number 4. Your stillness equals her curiosity. She doesn't want another man who reacts to her every move. She's seen it too many times. The moment she gets quiet, he panics. The moment she delays a reply, he starts double texting. The moment she pulls back, he leans in harder. It's predictable, exhausting, and completely unattractive. Because when a man reacts emotionally to every signal she sends, he shows her he's controlled by her, not by himself. And the moment she feels that, her respect fades. But when you're still, when you stay centered, composed, and unshaken by her shifts, something different happens. You become intriguing. She starts to wonder what's going on in your mind. She starts to question why her coldness didn't rattle you. She starts feeling curiosity. Because your silence isn't needy, it's powerful. You're not passive. You're present. You're not ignoring. You're observing. And that difference, that ability to hold your energy without collapsing into emotional chaos, is magnetic. Have you ever been around someone who doesn't try to impress you, but somehow you can't stop thinking about them? That's the energy we're talking about. It's rare, it's grounded, it's confident without being loud. And it drives women crazy, not because you're playing a game, but because you're not playing at all. You're just existing in your frame, your lane, your focus, and that creates a void, a psychological tension she feels but can't explain. Because when she expects you to react and you don't, when she expects you to chase and you don't, when she expects you to shift and you stay rooted, you create mystery, not the fake kind, the real kind, the kind that's born from a man who actually lives with purpose, discipline, and emotional clarity. That stillness is not silence, it's strength. It's the strength to hold your posture when she tests it. It's the strength to let her emotions rise and fall without jumping in to save her. It's the strength to be unaffected, not because you don't care, but because you care more about your integrity than her approval. That's what builds real attraction. That's what flips the dynamic, because now you become the question mark in her mind. Now she's thinking about you. Now she's wondering if she's good enough for you. And that shift, from being the one who seeks validation to the one who triggers curiosity, is everything. But here's what makes it real. You don't do this for her. You don't become still to make her chase. You become still because it's who you are. It's the product of knowing yourself, controlling yourself, mastering yourself. You develop it through hard days, deep work, and facing your own insecurities head-on. You build it by sitting in discomfort without needing someone to fix it. And when you live like that, when your peace is self-sourced, people feel it. Women feel it. They feel safer around you, more feminine, more open, not because you said the right thing, but because your energy created the space for it. That's the secret. Stillness invites connection. Not by force, but by frequency. And the more you lean into that stillness, the more you realize you don't have to chase anything. You just have to become everything you were chasing. Number 5. Give her space to miss you. You don't realize how much damage you're doing when you make yourself constantly available, when you're always just one message away, when your name is always lighting up her phone first, when she knows you'll be there no matter how she behaves. At first, it feels noble. It feels loyal. It feels like you're being a good man. But what you don't see is that you are robbing her of the very thing that builds attraction: emotional distance, not abandonment, not ghosting, but space. Space to feel your absence, space to reflect on your presence, space to wonder what you're doing. Most men are terrified of space because they think it means losing her. They believe that if they don't stay in her orbit, she'll forget them. But the truth is, the constant closeness you're creating is killing the very curiosity that keeps her interested. Imagine your favorite song playing on loop every hour of every day. Eventually, you get numb to it. The song doesn't change, but your emotional response to it fades. That's what happens when you're always around, always texting, always available. She gets emotionally saturated, not because you're not good enough, but because there's no room to miss you. Emotional connection is not built in the moments you're present. It's built in the moments you're absent after you've shown your value. That's when she reflects. That's when she remembers your voice, your presence, your energy. That's when her mind replays the things you said. But if you never leave that gap, if you never give her the gift of wondering where you went, she has nothing to reflect on. You become background noise. And in a world full of distractions, background noise gets ignored. The hardest truth to accept is this: if she never misses you, she will never value you. Because value is born from contrast, from silence after connection, from distance after intimacy, from the unknown after something real. And if you're always rushing to fix, to explain, to engage, you're destroying that contrast. You're preventing the emotional tension that creates real connection. The solution? Pull back, not in anger, not in manipulation, but in awareness. Awareness that your time, your energy, your access, they're valuable. They're not meant to be streamed 24/7. They're not supposed to be on demand. When she flakes, you don't text. When she's cold, you don't pursue. When she delays, you delay longer. Not to be petty, but to reinforce your standard. You don't operate on her timeline. You operate on yours. And when you do that, when you detach from the outcome and reclaim your focus, you flip the entire dynamic. Now she starts to notice your absence. Now she checks her phone and sees no messages from you. Now she starts wondering what changed. That moment, that uncertainty, is when she realizes what she lost. But it only happens when you give her space to feel it. Stop filling every silence. Stop chasing every delay. Let her sit in the quiet. Let her feel the difference when you're no longer giving her everything without question. Because when she finally feels what it's like to not have you around, that's when she starts reaching. That's when she starts investing. And that's when you realize you never had to beg for connection. You just had to stop smothering it. Number 6. Confusion makes her curious. Most men believe that being clear, predictable, and always available makes them attractive. They think if they're transparent enough, if they explain themselves well enough, if they make her feel comfortable enough, she'll stay. But what they don't understand is that clarity without tension leads to boredom. Predictability without polarity leads to emotional numbness. And while honesty and communication are vital, so is mystery. Women don't fall for men they fully understand. They fall for the ones who trigger emotional tension, the ones who disrupt their emotional baseline, the ones who make them feel something different. And that difference doesn't come from saying all the right things. It comes from being unpredictable in a way that makes her pay attention, not erratic, not unstable, but deeply unreadable. Have you ever met someone who was calm, composed, and said less, and yet you couldn't stop thinking about them? That's not an accident. That's depth. That's intrigue. And that's what most men never tap into, because they're too busy trying to be liked. When she texts dry, they overcompensate. When she pulls back, they explain themselves. When she tests them, they try to pass instead of observing. But when you're the kind of man who doesn't reveal everything, when your world is full with or without her, she starts to wonder. She starts to analyze. She starts to lean in, because you are no longer giving her the blueprint. You are giving her a challenge, a gentle one, a subtle one, but one she feels. And in that tension, in that mild confusion, she becomes emotionally invested. Now she's wondering why you didn't respond instantly, why you didn't ask her out again, why you didn't try to fix her coldness. That wondering turns into attention. That attention turns into obsession. And not because you manipulated her, but because you didn't let her fully figure you out. Because you didn't let her predict every move you'd make. Because you didn't collapse into emotional transparency just to gain approval. You want her to feel something? Start giving less clarity. Start asking more questions than you answer. Start showing up with confidence and ambiguity. Talk about your purpose, but not your plans. Show your values, but not your entire story. Let her earn access to your depth. And when she realizes that she can't read you like a book, when she realizes that your energy isn't easily defined, she will keep flipping the pages. Curiosity is emotional currency. And in dating, it's one of the most powerful tools you have. Because when she's curious, she's thinking. When she's thinking, she's investing. When she's investing, she's emotionally present. And when she's emotionally present, the connection begins. But if she already knows what you'll say, how you'll react, how you'll respond, she's already bored. So build your life so richly, so intentionally, that she has to learn you, not just see you. Be open, but never fully open the book, because the more she has to lean in to understand you, the more she'll stay close. Number 7, you're the prize. Act like it. There's a reason you feel like you're always the one trying harder, reaching first, planning everything, doing the emotional labor in your relationships, while receiving breadcrumbs of effort in return. It's because you've been conditioned to believe that you have to prove your worth, that your value isn't innate, but something you must constantly earn through attention, validation, and sacrifice. But this is the biggest lie you've ever swallowed, and it's the reason why you keep ending up emotionally depleted, confused, and quietly resentful, because deep down, you know something is off. You know that you're bending yourself to win someone who treats your presence like a convenience, and you hate yourself for allowing it. But the truth is brutal. It only keeps happening because you don't see yourself as the prize. And when a man doesn't believe he's the prize, he tolerates disrespect, he waits for validation, he settles for inconsistency, and he becomes addicted to being chosen instead of doing the choosing. And that's when everything collapses, because the moment she senses that you've placed her on a pedestal above your own self-respect, she loses respect for you. Not because she's cruel or heartless, but because she's wired to respond to power, direction, and sovereignty. And you gave all of that away the second you made her your purpose, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You can reclaim your position starting right now by shifting your mindset from, "I hope she picks me," to, "I decide who gets access to me." Because when you truly understand that your time, your presence, your energy, and your focus are valuable, you stop chasing people who can't see it. And instead, you start building a life so strong, so clear, so purpose-driven, that anyone who steps into it has to earn their place. And yes, that means walking away from situationships where you're doing all the work. It means deleting numbers that only hit you up when they're bored. It means saying no to low-effort attention even when you're lonely. Because every time you compromise, every time you make an exception, every time you lower the bar, you teach yourself that you are not the prize. And your actions always reveal your beliefs, so you want to act like the prize. Start by setting non-negotiables, not preferences, because a preference is something you want, but a non-negotiable is something you refuse to live without. And that applies to how you're treated, how you're spoken to, how you're supported. And if someone can't meet that, you don't negotiate, you exit. And that's not arrogance, that's alignment. Because the prize doesn't chase, the prize selects, the prize doesn't beg, the prize filters. And when you live this way, everything in your life improves. Not just your relationships, but your career, your confidence, your peace. Because now you're no longer giving away your power in hopes of being seen. Now you're building a life so strong, people can't look away. And that includes her. Because when a woman feels your certainty, when she feels your boundaries, when she sees that you move with or without her, she starts to question her own value, not yours. And that shift is where real attraction is born, not from you trying to win her over, but from you standing so deeply in your power that she wants to be chosen. And if she doesn't, you don't flinch, because a real prize doesn't fear loss. It knows that the right one recognizes worth without persuasion. Number 8. Women respect emotional sovereignty. If you want to know the single most powerful trait that separates men who constantly feel drained, disrespected, and disregarded in relationships from those who are respected, desired, and followed, it's emotional sovereignty. Because everything, and I mean everything, about how she treats you, responds to you, and connects with you, starts with how you manage your emotional state. And most men fail here not because they're weak or incapable, but because they've been conditioned to believe that reacting is caring, that explaining their feelings on demand is healthy, that being emotionally transparent 24/7 is attractive. But in reality, that behavior is exhausting to women and repels them over time, not because you're emotional, but because you're unstable, because you've handed her the remote control to your mood. And when she sees that her delay in texting you back ruins your whole day, when she notices that her disinterest makes you spiral, when she realizes that she has the power to throw you off your focus, she no longer feels safe in your leadership. And if she doesn't feel safe, she pulls away, tests harder, or disconnects completely. And that's when you feel blindsided, wondering what happened. But what happened is you made her your emotional regulator, and she never asked for that job, because deep down, what women crave isn't perfection. It's stability, not the fake kind where you suppress your feelings, but the real kind where you own them without needing anyone to fix them. And this is why emotional sovereignty is so powerful. Because when you remain calm in chaos, focused in conflict, present in pressure, she feels it in her nervous system, and it creates polarity, safety, attraction, and yes, desire. Because she knows that no matter what she throws at you, her moods, her silence, her tests, you won't fold, you won't react, you won't chase, because your peace is not up for negotiation. Your direction doesn't shift with her emotions, and your self-worth is not tied to her interest level. And that kind of man is rare, not because it's impossible to become him, but because it requires doing the work that most men avoid. It means facing your insecurity, your abandonment wounds, your need for external validation, and healing those patterns instead of outsourcing them to your partner. And when you do that, when you stop needing her to make you feel good about yourself, she respects you on a different level. Not because you dominate her, but because you don't need her to regulate you. And that's what creates real polarity. That's what keeps her drawn to you, not for what you say, but for how you handle yourself in the moments that would break another man. And the beauty of this is that it's fully within your control, because sovereignty isn't something she gives you. It's something you claim, something you choose, something you protect by building a life of purpose, discipline, and non-reactivity. And once you live this way, you'll never go back, because now you're no longer chasing peace, you are peace, and women, the world, and your future self will all align around the man who no longer gives his emotions away to be managed, but who leads them with strength, clarity, and unshakable resolve. If you're tired of being the man who gives everything and gets nothing, if you're done chasing women who barely remember your name while you can't forget theirs, then this is your moment. No more confusion, no more emotional begging, no more playing a game rigged against your peace. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook is not just information, it's a weapon for any man who's ready to take back control, elevate his standards, and finally feel what it's like to be chosen because of his power, not his pursuit. This is your awakening, and it's waiting in the comments. Don't waste another year losing yourself for someone who wouldn't even blink if you disappeared. Comment, "I choose power," like this video, and subscribe to help other men find these truths.